Hi everyone. Assalamu alaikum ji. My name is Asmar Atif, and I'm leading a company called Octopus Digital. That's Avanceon group of companies. And today I'm at the platform of CxO Global Forum, and I've got some very, very exciting senior experienced professionals with me on the panel. So before anything, I would like to give a disclaimer that I'm not a professional moderator, but I've taken up this job on the request of CxO Global Forum, being a veteran, and I thought I've got nothing to lose. It's just a new experience in life one should do. So I would like to introduce each one of the panelists very soon, but before that, just a little bit on CxO Global Forum. It is a knowledge sharing platform where all C-level executives and aspiring C-levels even come. So sometimes even those who are not like-minded, they come also and we share with each other our thoughts, experiences, and professional gains and losses, and try and learn from each other. So before moving on, I'd like to introduce our distinguished panelists. So we have Dr. Annie. Dr. Annie is connected with us from Dubai. She is the CEO of Pixelhunters. Then we have Jawad Khalid Mirza.
Let me introduce myself. I think Asmar is again hanging on. I am Chief Information Security Officer here in Askari Bank. I have around about 18 years of experience in cybersecurity and with the related domains. I used to work with Allied Bank, MCB Bank, Ufone, and Zarid Dargadi Bank, and Ministry of Interior in Pakistan as IT consultant on National Response Center for Cybercrime Project. And with this, I am a chairman cybersecurity forum for Banking Association Pakistan. Then I'm a co-founder for CxO Forum as well.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you, Jawad. So we have Moneeb also with us, who is the founder and CEO of Ahad, AHAD. That's visible under the nameplate of Moneeb. And then we have Mr. Mahmood Siddique. He is also a C-level executive in the information security and information management. So we also have another colleague.
Siddique. If you let me introduce.
Mahmood sir, you can brief your introduction.
Yes,
give us
yes,
a brief introduction.
Mahmood sir, please.
I think he
of 5 different banks, from State Bank to Barclays to the last job at National Bank, and for the last since 99 to 2017, I was CIO of different banks. From 17 onwards, I've left banking, but I'm still in financial industry. I'm now the CIO of Pakistan Stock Exchange. Overall, I've been working in Karachi, Pakistan for almost 30 years now.
So wonderful, wonderful.
Impressive profile, impressive.
Very, very impressive. Thank you, Mahmood Saab. Thank you very much. So we also will be joining Wasim, and Wasim is just right there. He has just joined us. Wasim is the Chief Information Officer at Tapal TEE Private Limited. Wasim, can you hear me? Wasim, your mic is mute. So let me open the house, ladies and gentlemen. And the topic today is artificial intelligence. I know it's a much spoken buzzword, and it's regarding utopia and dystopia. It's a very broad word. It's a very broad concept. So we'll try to limit our discussion to the fact that whether AI is still a pipe dream, it's still a fancy, or AI is becoming reality. So I would go to each of the individual panelists that we And the question is very simple. The question is very simple. How is AI playing a role in your business, in your line of work? In what way? And is it still a pipe dream, a fancy, or just a story in your business? Or your business has already started doing it? And you can also answer that with an emphasis on whether you're working on narrow AI or general AI. So you can do that. So I'll start with, of course, ladies first. Dr. Annie, over to you. Is AI still a pipe dream, or is it more of a story in your business?
Any, you can start, please. Any, your microphone is muted.
Annie, over to you.
Yes. Okay. Okay, what AI is an artificial intelligence. Does it exist and yes, this is the future? Definitely. I live in Dubai, and if you try, for example, to call your bank, you will definitely fall on an AI agent who is talking to you and servicing you. Is it perfect? No. Will it be the future? Yes. One of the biggest applications of AI that we can see is, for example, Amazon and all the biggest e-commerce platforms and all the Facebook and social media, all these kind of engines, they are already using artificial intelligence. So it's not a coincidence wherever we click, it's somewhere recorded, and later on we see more and more of the same click. So this is a very good example of artificial intelligence. Us as a company, we develop video games and a lot of serious applications for game-based and gamified solutions for training. So yes, we started implementing artificial intelligence, not in a such wide scope like the Amazon and the other big players on the market, but we have started introducing artificial intelligence in a way it is user friendly and step by step on a baby step. Because if you introduce artificial intelligence and your customers are not ready, or the artificial intelligence is not at the level the audience expect, you may provide a bad experience of the AI.
Thank you, Dr. Annie. Thank you very much. After that, I will go to Jawad. Jawad, what is AI in your line of work? And is it really becoming a reality, or is it more of a buzzword?
Let me start with my notion with what Vladimir Putin said. No nation with AI power can't leverage the strength of. You can't be a superpower without AI. This is the importance of AI in any sort of domain, in any sort of for countries' future. I think we have to be very prudent, and we have to be there for AI adoption. AI is not a buzzword. It's been in our lives. We have studied neural languages in our university level. Now the use cases are bit good, and but computing takes up. We have a cheaper hardware. We have some quite good resources to build AI use cases onto it. I think it's not a buzzword, it's a reality, and we are heading towards that. We have built upon, we have some made some good investments at the national level, and some of the companies are doing very good on building some AI use cases. Rather, being a security professional, I rather mean to for the defensive side and for the offensive side that is using that is leveraging the strength of AI. I think I am looking for my domain. We have to have a predictable analysis. What gonna be happen in a 6 days a row, 1 day in a row, in a month, in 3 months or 6 months or so. That is the strength of an AI, which gives us some predictive analysis about any adversary that is working on any sort of web, that is deep web, dark web, or surface web. I need, as on a defensive side, we have to unleash this AI part. I think it's a pivotal and much more important thing right now.
Thank you, Jawad, and very well said. It's about prediction. And that reminds me of what we guys are doing at Octopus Digital, because we work for manufacturing and process industry. And we are trying to build an would go to over to Mahmoud Saab. Mahmoud Saab, what does AI mean to you, and what is the implication in your line of work? Mahmoud Saab, over to you. अपना mic unmute कर लीजिएगा. Thank you. Mahmoud Saab, mic unmute कीजिएगा please.
I have unmuted. I think the administrator is doing back on mute. Anyway, can you hear me now?
Perfectly, sir.
Can you
So
hear
what
me?
does AI mean to you? Yes, please. Yes.
In the financial markets, this is the fifth decade when, I mean, we started studying or learning about AI back in the 80s, but practically now it's very much in use both, I mean, internationally, so it's heavily used, but even in the local market, Pakistan, it's now in use. People are putting bots on their websites, on different areas, especially the area where I think the extensive use has already started is the regulatory side, the compliance side. In any financial markets, it's become very much automating of the manual checking processing, which is now there are softwares available, and the banks as well as other institutions in the financial markets are now using AI. In the capital markets, the both SECP and TSX are have started using it. We have put in surveillance systems which react to any market incident, any market reaction, and then do a lot of analysis. If it was being done humanly, it would have taken weeks or months, which now through these AI systems, it is, I mean, we are the start in the initial phase of that, but we can see a lot of usage in the coming year and the way forward. And each and every case where a certain case is for regulation or for compliance of different rules, something that would take a case officer months to do it could become done within a day or even less. That's one area. Secondly, in the uh, KYC or regulation on that side, where you have to meet all the conditions. In that area as well, I've seen local software houses entering into the AI domain and trying to automate a lot of decision making, which was human even till 2 years ago. It is happening. It's starting in the local market as well. So yes, I foresee a lot of use in the financial markets this year, and in the coming years, more and more automation into that.
Thank you, Mahmoud Saab. So Munib, over to you. Tell us something about Ahad also. What does Ahad do, and how did you create that, and what does AI mean to you?
Sure, thank you, Asmar. And obviously, I would agree with my panelists as well. So, as Ahad, I am a CEO and a founder of Ahad, and especially, I also would like to shed some light on the topic, especially how an entrepreneur see artificial intelligence, and is it really, really helpful? We already know today in pandemic, in COVID times, businesses have suffered, and people are always also looking at, even with existing workforce, how do we automate things? And especially in my career so far, maybe I mentioned this at the earlier of the at the earlier start of the call as well. Born in UAE, I've had ample enough experience working with some of the most sensitive entities, some of the biggest banks in UAE, and we are already serving them as well. And there was an example which Mr. Mohammed also shared, because the most common form of an artificial intelligence which anybody could experience now would be on a website in the form of a chatbot, because that can help you enable your journey from start to finish without really requiring major hand-holding. And it's not just towards an artificial intelligence or it's a matter of finding those key problem areas, finding what are the problems that needs to be solved, because each and every organization can use artificial intelligence in its own unique way, which could be unique to the industry or the vertical. But the most important thing really is we need to be open to the idea of utilizing technology, harnessing it, and especially utilizing the benefactor as well as the advantages of the technology, because quite frankly this can make everyone's life much easier, as well as pave way towards the modern and the smart future where everybody would want to live and actually live happily.
Thank you, Munib. That's really very exciting. And before I move on to the next topic of the discussion, which is related to this week's AI, I'd like to focus on two aspects of AI now that we should take our discussion forward on. One is the artificial general intelligence, and these are two very basic broad definitions on Google. One is artificial general intelligence, which is actually that an intelligent agent, a machine bot, could become or could take over human emotionally, task-wise, and everything. One is the artificial narrow intelligence, which is that some tasks will be automated, like, say, for example, chatbot that Annie mentioned. Mahmood Saab mentioned about capital markets. Jawad mentioned about in the banks. Munib also. So what do we think? We are very far from achieving artificial general intelligence, where humans will be replaced, even emotions will be replaced by machines and AI. But we are into, I think our businesses are more into artificial narrow intelligence for now, where we at Octopus also are working in the artificial narrow intelligence, where machine learning is one thing with prediction and prescription that Jawad mentioned, is we are working on. So Dr. Annie, over to you. What specifically do you think is the future of artificial narrow intelligence? What do you think? Do you think all the tasks that we do as humans, excluding the emotions, are going to be replaced by AI moving forward? And what are you doing in your business in artificial narrow intelligence? If you could enlighten us, please.
With regard, because there is the automation of processes and there the artificial intelligence. With regard, the automation of processes is not something new. This exists, I don't know how many years. Actually, my father in 1979 developed the first robot, hydraulic robot, that was painting robot that was able to self-educate. So this is kind of artificial intelligence in 1979. So automation and narrow artificial intelligence in production and manufacturing, there is a huge future, and this is the future. Will many people stay jobless? Probably yes, because a lot of everything that is the standard tasks repeated all over and all over again, there is a strong chance that these jobs functions will be automated and replaced by robots. By robots, I don't talk about humanoids that are able to talk. Robots can be industrial robots, and it can be chatbot robots, even call them like this. So everything that can be done on a repetitive way, from which you can obtain data and analyze data and outcomes, predictable outcomes, all these job functions will be replaced. With regards of human behavior, the artificial intelligence, there is a long way to go, just because the human brain is still a black box. So it doesn't matter how many neurologists and how many people and the whole world is still trying to understand what's inside here. There is still not a clear answer. And some decisions are not actually made based on data. When we talk about humans, we take decisions very often on guts or on our sixth sense or on our emotions. And in this regard, the artificial intelligence, the general artificial intelligence, there is a long way to go. But the narrow one, we already, as Jawad said, We have it into the website, we have it into the banking, we have it into every single digital. Right now, the digital marketing is also more or less automated, and there are so many software solutions that help you to automate processes, and they have artificial intelligence. So yes, this will grow, and if we object this growth, we are really stupid, because it is coming. Artificial intelligence is not a myth, it's already a reality. And as far as we see this, the progress of artificial intelligence is improving every single day. So yes, it's coming, and even on a faster pace than it was coming till now.
Thank you, Dr. Annie. Really appreciate your thoughts. So Jawad, I'll come to you, and my question is a little bit on what exactly is happening in Askari Bank under your leadership. I know you wear so many hats that you mentioned, but I'll just focus on your role as CxO at Askari Bank. So what in that financial retail banking, do you make decisions due to, do you qualify applications also based on some AI algorithm, and would there be any bias in that? In terms of, I'll touch a little bit on the ethics issue also, and the AI bias issue also. So tell us a little bit about that.
I think for a banking sector, still now where we are standing right now, I think still we are heading towards the use cases for an AI. I think we don't have any qualifier with respect to an AI to build upon to select anything. It's on your judgmental kind of criteria and stuff like that, which we earlier are using right now. But the thing is, for my domain is concerned, we are injecting some intelligent thing, just like Dr. Boston from IBM, which gives some insights, which gives some predictive analysis, which gives us some insights, what is happening around. If some particular threat is happening around in any sort of the world, and which gives us some intimation that particular instant might be happening somewhere of something happening around in this region, so that we can gauge up and plug our gaps over here in the bank control. I think still I I second to Dr. Annie as well. Conventional kind of jobs which are repetitive in nature gonna be replaced with AI use case. And we are heading towards one more use case. We are heading towards that. Those are in fraud monitoring, banking sector, which tend to have we are strictly looking for we having for solutions which are on AI based for fraud monitoring as well. This is another area.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jawad. Mahmood Saab, now coming back to you. And you mentioned about financial markets. And by the way, I wanted to give you your full introduction, but this is at the back end. The CxO people told me that there's something confidential today. They asked me not to. I would have loved to do a full introduction. So I just wanted to hear a disclaimer on that. But Mahmood Saab, because you come from the financial markets and you have an idea of capital markets, what do you think in artificial narrow intelligence? What are the parts that our capital markets in our country have been able to automate, and also beyond that, as Dr. Annie said, beyond automation, have been able to digitalize also and create a digital twin out of it? Like Jawad mentioned, a very simple example of, not a simple one, but it's just that it's easier said than done, but it's just the fraud detection and everything. So what in the capital markets have we been able to achieve under your leadership, Mahmood?
Since the compliance, PSX is also a regulator for the capital market. Both SECP and PSX are a regulator. So I'm limited by the areas that I can divulge the information. That's why we had requested that. But let me.
Mahmood Saab, your voice is low, please. Can you speak a bit louder?
I think we just lost Mahmood Saab. I think he's connected from his cell phone, so we can wait for a few seconds if he joins back. Otherwise, I'll go to Muneeb. But Jawad, this is interesting. I mean, I'll come back to you. I think Mahmood Saab is back. Ji Mahmood Saab.
Gee, can you hear me now? I've just moved my location for a better, closer to the Wi-Fi. Can you hear me now?
That is
Yes,
perfect. That is. But if you can speak a little louder, that would be much better, sir. We can. You're
Okay.
audible. Thank you.
Yeah, I am quite loud. Uh, uh, the reason I had requested limited because it cannot be shared with uh, this is how we'll be controlling and checking all the investors and traders for all kind of compliance of the rules. But in general, yes, Pakistan, even in Pakistan, the capital market, investors, brokers have been using AI. Already, algorithmic trading is in practiced by a few elite brokers. So people do have asked the local software houses to develop
Mahmood Saab,
that
we
growing
lost
very
you.
much in this
Okay.
market.
Okay. Mahmood Saab, because
Okay.
you come from because you come from a very important sector, so we would like to hear a little bit more from you. Because what I understand is that the role of the regulators, whether PSX or stock SECP, their primary purpose is to protect the interest of the shareholder. So, in that regard, is there anything that is done
Yes.
in terms of the due diligence of the companies who are trying to be public, who are trying to float shares, so is there anything automated that is done through which some kind of due diligence is done for the companies who are trying to float their shares so as to be able to come up with a reasonable decision whether the interest of the shareholders will be protected in the future or not? So is there anything which is automated that you would like to highlight, Mirza?
Yes. There have been systems developed to automate the whole listing process, companies coming on board for the stock exchange. But that's not the area where artificial intelligence is being used. The area where it's being used heavily, the systems have been put in place, are the areas for compliance to check the traders if they do not uh, do any kind of inside trading or any kind of wash trade. So the compliance rules for the trading part for traders for different brokers, that is where the AI and machine learning is being used, and as the first step. The easiest part is for regulators, whether State Bank starts using it or SECP, it's the compliance of all the rules that can be instead of manual human checking, that automation involves some kind of artificial intelligence, and that's the area where in capital market we have started. Uh, Also, in the banking sector, when I was there for 20 years, there were areas like for consumer lending. More and more decisions are now being relegated to the computers. The simplest part was 10 years ago when we had a scorecards, but now those algorithms are quite complex, which a lot of human decision making has now been shifted to the computers and the programs. That's one part. On the call center part, um, uh, to recognize the customer, the voice recognition part and the facial recognition part, if in case it's a video, that has increased a lot to a level where you can more rely on the computer than human anymore, and recognizing it's the right customer. So that's one another area where AI is being used, and I see that on a trial basis in many places in Pakistan, but definitely something that's going to come up very shortly, where the human operators who authenticate a customer would be replaced by the computer.
Very well said, Mahmood Saab. Thank you very much. Very, very pertinent inputs. And you're so right about the regulators and the area in which the AI is. Compliance is also very, very important. So I wish we also have some kind of an cyber that we can give it to FBR, that all our taxpayer base can be increased, and people who steal tax and they don't pay tax, it can just recognize through their faces. I mean, we have those spy cameras, and they can recognize somebody, and then they can give a decision, oh, this person is a taxpayer, not a taxpayer. I don't know, it's still a pipe dream, but I wish that our other agencies and regulators would focus on developing something AI, something which is possible. So Munib, now turning to you, in your line of work, what is the narrow AI that you've been able to achieve or you're working on, helping society, helping businesses, helping your customers?
See, I've been actually very proud of being part of one of the biggest initiative on artificial intelligence in UAE, which actually was covering the whole city of Dubai and particularly. So it just obviously, as you can understand, the nature of business of these customers are very sensitive. So without disclosing much into the project, but the idea behind is we already have seen huge transformation in UAE, and especially since I'm based out of here, and majority of the customers that we are interacting are from UAE and Middle East. And it used to be also in Pakistan as well, but it just, as you can understand, today the focus shifts towards who are in the vicinity and what kind of challenges that we can help address for them. We have had a huge success with some of the banks. As Mr. Mohammed mentioned, that some of the entities in Pakistan probably were testing. We actually, alhamdulillah, already have two of the largest banks in UAE who are now using the call center automation, using the platform that we serve here. And that actually is helping them reducing almost from 12 million dirhams of investment that they used to do. They already have actually recovered, as well as the return of investment is already saving them almost 50% of the revenue they would otherwise would have spent. That also brings about the topics about other verticals as well, because banking has its own use cases. Whereas when we look at smart government initiative, it can really help a lot with law and order. It can help a lot with predicting, forecasting crimes as well, especially with the known as well as historic data, because we always have incidents reported, especially now with the smartphones, smart cameras available everywhere. We can almost automate majority of at least safety for the society, for the country, as well as businesses to take advantage towards utilizing the machine learning and artificial intelligence on how they could revamp their activities. One important element I would like to highlight, especially in this era of COVID, e-commerce have picked up tremendously. There are so many use cases around using artificial intelligence and e-commerce, how it can be interconnected, and how especially even a startup or maybe a small company can also embed artificial intelligence, because a notion about AI will only be used over a country, over a city, or over only maybe by a massive organization. That is changing very, very fast, and especially with subscription models, pay-as-you-go models, we actually are seeing, especially in majority of the areas. For instance, I would like to give an example about customer or service engagement, where WhatsApp is the new business tool. It's now the impersonal communication, even to reach out to CxOs, where we have seen the era where even before COVID, people even used to have an objection towards invited towards a WebEx. They always used to prefer only in-person meetings. Whereas today, with WhatsApp Enterprise, you can actually reach out to masses, and that could be your e-commerce model, that could be judicial, that could be courts, that could be your police, that could be your law enforcement. You can actually come up with so many use cases which can actually help reduce the burden on the operations of a specific entity or a specific company or the vertical they actually are serving, as well as enhance the quality of living of the nation, the citizen, or the customers you serve.
Thank you, Munib. When you mentioned about the subscription model and the pay-as-you-go model, I thought you were talking about also Octopus Digital, because what we have done in Octopus is we have self-cannibalized our parent company, Avanceon, and we have changed the business model upside down. And as they say, that if you don't close your business yourself, somebody else will. So what we have done is we have changed the entire project business for manufacturing into subscription and through the big data and machine learning of the asset. So you're absolutely right. Our industry in which I come from, manufacturing and process industry of automation, it has always been projects. And now it's turning on to data and subscription and dashboarding and then all that stuff. So exactly what you said is resonated so well with me. So wanted to just chip in. So my next question is a bit more philosophical, away from our regular lines of work. We are coming from different businesses, different companies, different regulators, banks, startups, engineering, whatever. But now it's a different question. It's a philosophical question on ethics. I give you, each one of you, a scenario. Scenario is the same, and then your opinion. That, a lot of algorithms are being developed to automate certain decisions in various industries. One of the most pressing is job hiring. And in the future, the HR department will be replaced with like a digital HR. So you pump in your CV and it'll give a decision based on whatever inputs that you had given him and whatever supervised, unsupervised learning that it'll churn out. So, and then there are lots of ethical issues around that, ethical AI and responsible AI we keep hearing. So Dr. Annie, my question to you is, do you really think that that part of narrow AI, automating decisions about job hiring, would it be beneficial? Or do you think that there are some serious ethical issues in those algorithms that would generate new biases, whereas we already have a lot of biases when people hire? So over to you, Dr. N.
Well, I think that the artificial intelligence can be very beneficial for the HR process to a certain extent. If, for example, we are talking about capability, which can be tracked, like diplomas, experience, softwares that they use, and etc. These portfolios, images, pictures, these kind of things, they can be automated, because at the end of the day, I'm right now hiring people, and I can tell you that majority of the people don't even read what they apply for, which is the bit the pitchy thing, because it's opened me a lot of time. I have to waste a lot of time to look for the right people. So the AI can be introduced to a level of filtering. You have a certain, and there's quite a lot of platforms already who have similar approach. So they filter the candidate according to certain criteria. You put certain criteria, and they made some initial pre-selection. What the AI cannot still replace is the body language and the human interview, human to human, where you can read the people face, you can read the people confidence, where you can understand, where are the pros and cons for a certain candidate. Because I can create a perfect resume, and there are thousands of people who have read how to write a perfect resume, but this doesn't make those potential employees the best employee for your company. They just can write a good resume, but a good leader, a good HR, has to go beyond these standard things that are written in the CV and understand ability and capability of the candidate. Because in one interview, two interviews, it's very difficult, to understand everything for a certain candidate. It comes with the time. But an experienced human person, HR, because they have experience of interviewing thousands of people, they have this kind of, I call it experience, which the AI is still not there yet. So your experience, your personal feeling about someone performance, this cannot still be replaced by the artificial intelligence. This is my opinion. I might be wrong, but this is what I think and believe.
Thank you, Dr. Annie. I would be the first responder to that, because this is a very interesting, and I really respect your opinion. And with that said, I recently finished it's been 2 years now. So 2018, I graduated from, I did my MBA from Imperial College London, and I'm also member of their machine learning society. So what we did was, this was a global online, but it was a 2-year MBA, and I was based in Dubai, and we were 80 students from 32 different countries. So they had such an AI-based system where it's like a class going on, and they had a camera and through which the teacher can. So even if my shoulders are dropped, and even if I'm sitting like this in a class, the AI-based thing could actually look into my eyes, that whether my eyes are full open or whether my eyes are dim, or whether am I smiling and all, whether I'm not fresh and active and all that in the class, or whether I'm gloomy. The camera could recognize, and the professor could see that, and professor could say, "Hey, Asmar, are you sleepy today?" And I'm like, "Oh, no. So we have to be so there." And I was and we were all amazed. We said, "Oh, in the class nobody cares, but online, because the AI application." So a lot of things in terms of body language, because it's a very, very important point, Dr. Annie, that you mentioned, that body language is something which is very, very important, and that human touch is also very important. I don't know how far AI can replace HR, but it's a very valid point that you said, Dr. Annie, that up to filtration process, it can be done. So Jawad, my question to you is, do you think that, hypothetically speaking, if you are also, in addition to CxO, you're also made the head of corporate HR Askari Bank, so would you take a decision to employ an algorithm to make hirings for you?
To some extent, I put on the things. Rather, as you know, that Google and big companies and Apple, they are trying to, hire the skills. They are now depleting or discouraging any, degree holders with respect to the skill holders. With this thing, it's pretty tough for any HR, to see you, but you have to have a human touch or human feelings into it. I rather to I give an example. 2 years ago, I was interviewing a guy coming from a very humble background, but upon interviewing, he told me that how much he struggled to get onto this interview done for the job. But the thing is, at some point you employ AI, but after that, human factors come in. Human are just Dr. Annie said, it's a black box kind of thing. It's still unpredictable what humans are. What gonna change your mind at any instant? I think it's not about AI. It's about your insight or
Experience.
feelings and perceptions.
Thank you.
It's a very difficult call.
It's a very difficult call, and I can't agree with you more. I totally agree with you that there's a lot of subjectivity, there's a lot of judgment call
Context, yes.
has to make while selecting candidates, because sometimes everything is good on paper. It happens with me. Since I moved from Dubai to Pakistan, 70% of my time is on hiring talent, and trust me, sometimes everything looks good on paper. CV is brilliant, test is brilliant, all the IQ thing is brilliant, meeting is also okay. But when you see the person, you have some sort of a feeling that something is not right. And sometimes the CV is average, everything is average. When you meet the person, you feel, oh, this is something this is the talent that you're looking for. So you're so right. This is it. So Mahmood, sorry.
The AI cannot filter passion, because the passion about the work is something that you cannot see on the paper, and also something which is called perseverance. Perseverance to get the things done. If you're able to fight for your job to get hired, most probably, and you succeed to convince your HR manager, that means you're a very good candidate for the job, because you're perseverant to get the things done and achieve your goal, which is something that no AI can filter at this moment.
That's true. Not at this moment. It's a good caveat, Dr. Annie, that you put in the end. So,
I have the question, Dr. Asmar. Again, I second to Annie. Higher the passion.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Mahmood Saab, do you agree with Dr. Eni and Jawad on this? That AI cannot replace HR, at least for
Yeah, I
now?
agree. Yes, I agree. At the moment, AI is helping us, assisting us in that. And let's say the example you gave for hiring, if there were 4 people involved, uh, at least 3 out of 4 tasks could be automated. AI could do that, but the final decision, the final person making the judgment where the human part comes in, that is still with the human at the moment. That for that to change, there has to be a lot more development in AI. But AI in every area is facilitating the decision making. So it has a role in place, and some of the functions which humans are doing, even in every example you made for hiring HR, they can replace AI.
Ji Mahmood Saab. Thank you. So Munib, I think this entire panel is on one side, with a caveat that so far, no. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Well, primarily to some extent, AI is already replacing some functions of HR. It definitely may not be able to replace HR completely. And this is where, while we talk about AI replacing humans, we also need to highlight this factor. It's not about all doom and gloom because with COVID, already there are people looking for jobs. And when we talk about artificial intelligence cutting down additional jobs, it should actually mean whatever we have done, whatever we are preparing for, we ensure our coming generations are actually ready to face the challenges that will be unique to them. And being as industry leaders, as industry professionals, this is one of the objectives where we would also want to shed light to our youngsters, to our upcoming generations, that they need to change their thinking. They may even need to change their perception what their career and professions may look like maybe 10 years, 20 years down the line. Because while HR can some extent be replaced. It may not be fully replaced. And what does that mean? Yes, there could be some new prejudice. There could be some new bugs. There could be, as we all know, machines could be taken over, could be hacked, could be compromised. And this is where all of that can happen. But that also means that will create a new challenge, that will create a new opportunity. And that's what we need to be looking at. Whereas if and when HR is completely being replaced or any other roles are completely being replaced, we also need to move towards what are the new avenues, what are those new opportunities that we can move towards. One important aspect, especially that's a real life experience, and I would like to share that because while an HR will be doing a vetting, the human element, why is it so critical and important? Because even in my career and life, I've gone through phases where I selected a candidate on a gut feeling, and that gut feeling was so strong that if a machine or if an artificial intelligence was vetting that particular candidate, they would have been easily rejected. Whereas when that candidate was given a chance, they actually proved more than their worth. They actually went out of their way, and their performance and their delivery was more than what was even expected of that particular person, individual, of that particular role. So as humans, and this is where we always intend to actually connect deeply with only another human. So humans will always have a role to play, but our roles would change, and that's what we need to be prepared for. And as and when AI is replacing certain roles, it's creating new challenges and opportunities that we need to focus towards them.
Jawad, you want to say something? And before
Yeah. I
please,
just got remember with something. I just studied. I think it's 1 year or 2 years back. I just studied something. One of a boy is Indian or something who was working on his laptop and doing some kind of research or something. And instantly, Google asked him a questions that you can do these tasks, and we're going to hire you at that time. I think what comes into place that he was searching some technical details for his assignment or job or something, that their engines, their AI use cases just strike and question to the particular boy that it does those tasks and you get hired. I think this is another way in hiring the right talent for your jobs.
I
What
think
Google
it's a
is doing.
very good. And that's what I was about to say, because I think you got my mind. So I'm about to say that for certain jobs, the whole HR could be automated in terms of tasks, but majority, I agree with all the fellow panelists today on the. So before, I think we're already on top of the hour. So before I put a close to the show, I think last closing remarks from each one of you is on the main topic that we have for today: is it utopia or dystopia moving forward by the time we all get older, maybe 15, 20, 30 years down the road, and our kids grow up and our kids grow in 30s and in their 40s? What is the world going to be like in 20 to 30 years? Is it going to be a total dystopian world, disappointment and AI taking over, creating havoc? Or do you think that it's going to be a utopian world and AI changing lives for the better for many around the globe? So more of a
I,
global perspective from each one of you. Dr. Annie, starting from you.
I think the future is the future of the artificial intelligence. There is no doubt in that. Um, this is how I started. So the AI will close many jobs doors, but will open many new doors. So when one door closes, another opens. What our next generation will experience, for me, is that they will be having more and more difficulties in finding jobs. So that's why, because the standard jobs that every machine can do it, they will be replaced by AI. So our next generations, our kids, will have much harder time than ourselves in finding jobs. So that's why it's very important the kids on an early stage to realize this one and to look into directions where they can give value to the AI, because all this AI will not develop by itself, So the next generation, they will have to look for how to complement the AI and how to outstand the AI, because the human brain is still more powerful than any AI with regards of creativity. So that's why for the next generations to come, it's very, very important for them to have skill development and to have their creative side developed, with which they can complement and update the AI solutions. But will the AI become a reality? Yes, it's an absolute utopia. This is the future, and we cannot do anything against this one.
True. Jawad, for your kids, what's the message? Utopia is coming or dystopia?
I think I've earlier said, just again quoted Vladimir Putin. I'm following him as well.
Oh,
Rather, he said very bluntly, no nation can be a superpower without AI. With this, we are heading towards that kind of the world, which is utopia with AI, that cease to exist. Rather, we tend to seize many opportunities with respect to an AI kind of thing. I think with its utilities in healthcare, but again, loads of predictive analysis tends to be on AI. We are, but with proper regulations, with proper government backing, I think this whole kind of thing tend to be utopia rather dystopia. I think one it's come to the level that AI can beat up your human mind. I think that's the level that we humans can balance what kind of what kind of intelligence we are imparting to the bots or robots or something humanoid kinds of thing. I think it's a balance. We need to create a balance. I think our new generation, they are much more tech savvy. They are very much information handy, and they are now. This is a reality. I've just studied, Kaifuli book, AI in Superpowers. This is a very good book written by the old country head of Yahoo or Google, and Google as well in China. But China is embracing amazing. They are now at par, having at par with America. Now the thing is, they are into every segment of. They are using AI in every segment of their life. I think our our prime minister said is earlier, our future is with Chinese. I think we are. There is no way. There is no way we can stop our journey with AI. We have to have AI with us.
I think I read that book also, Jawad, and it's brilliant. And that reminds me also, I was lucky enough to do a cybersecurity executive program, 8 weeks at Harvard University at Kennedy School. So there,
Great.
everybody, I was probably the youngest person studying cybersecurity, because everybody there was coming from US military or diplomats or intelligence, very senior people. And they were, and I just had a chat with them, because me coming from Asia and originally from Pakistan had a lot of, so I told them that, look, if you guys, and they, at that point in time, it was 3 years ago, at that point in time, they said that we want to just beat China. And I said, the best way to beat China is probably not in military or trade. The best way to beat China is in tech. So if the West wants to beat China, he should be in tech. And at that point in time, they said, no, we are militarily. So, and finally, and when we concluded our discussion, they said, yeah, Asmar, you're right, because it has to be tech. So, Jawad, you're absolutely right. China is way ahead. Even the beggars there have QR code there, and so all the data they have from a mom and pop shop to a brick and mortar or to a biggest company, everyone has QR code. So you're so right. They are such a data factory, like a big data factory. Brilliant. So
yeah, one more thing to tell you. Very interesting to tell you. They built primarily Chinese. They built their economy. What they are up right now is on cybersecurity. It's kind of offensive, but they built their economy with respect to their human resources, with quite nation patriotic. To build the whole economy on cybersecurity. I will tell you another this thing in another episode or something. But on this thing now, Chinese are in era where West is copying them.
True.
Earlier,
True.
China is copying West. Now this century is for Chinese, and West is copying them. Now these are kind of things. Now Chinese are having shopping spree in Silicon Valley.
That's true. So, Jawad, I think then you should stop talking about President Vladimir Putin of Russia. Let's start talking about President Xi of China then.
Yeah, pretty impressive. Yes.
Very, very impressive. So, Mahmood, we lost you, but you're back. So we are taking last comment because we are on top of the hour. So it's very good that you're back. So last question is for your children. What are you going to tell your children? Is it going to be a utopian world with AI, everything all good with AI, or it's a dystopian world moving forward? Say when our kids will be older, what is the world that they're going to inherit with AI? Mahmood Saab.
You can't fight that. They just have to be adaptive and have to learn to live and adjust themselves accordingly.
I could hear that you're right. You can't fight it. So as they say, if you can't beat them, join them. So if you can't beat AI, so better embrace AI. So very, very well said, Mahmood Saab. So Munib, last comment from you, and sorry that it's just there is no design that we have put you in the end. It's just random. So but thank you, Munib. Over to you.
Sure, not an issue. I would like to actually say, especially for maybe a comment to everybody, because an artificial intelligence is no match for human stupidity. So it actually all depends on how us adults, as well as the political and the world leadership, behaves and uses a technology or uses anything that's actually available within their means. So as far as the future is concerned, the use and consumption of artificial intelligence is concerned, it can have huge advantages. It can have huge benefits. And looking at at least the bigger picture, definitely there is a lot of momentum that it can shape shift as well as energize, providing that visibility as well as that rich future to the upcoming generations as well. So I would say as long as we, the adults and the world leaders, behave in same manner and let the technology takes its route, it can only be there to actually help and make our lives even much more simpler and easier than we're living today.
Perfect. With this, I would like to thank all my fellow panelists. Wasim couldn't join because Wasim was not feeling well, but thank you very much, Dr. Annie. Thank you, Jawad. Thank you, Mahmood Saab. Thank you, Munib. And get well soon, Wasim. In the end, I would just say that I have a habit of seeing everything from a rose-tinted glass. So I'm pretty much an optimist. I think this is the single biggest and most happening thing that's going to happen to our kids by the time we all are going to be long gone. Sorry to say that. But this also gives me a feeling that I wish I would be born not now in the 80s. I would be born maybe 10, 20 years down the road to see what kind of world is it going to be. But anyway, one should be contented. So let's see what kind of world are we going to leave for our children. I hope and I believe it's going to be much, much better world than we inherited. So thank you very much, gentlemen. It's lovely meeting all of you. I think I'll try and personally connect with each one of you also through LinkedIn, and hope we meet again here and there and physically also sometime. So thank you very much.
Looking forward, yes.
And I learned a lot from all of you today. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mahmood Saab. Thank you, Jawad. Thank you, Munib. Thank you, Dr. Annie. And Wasim, get well soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been a great.
Thank you. Bye-bye.